Hi, hello. Welcome to the second session on Bash scripting, that is nothing but Unix shell scripting. In the last session we have completely seen the introduction for this complete course, and also we have discussed the prerequisites required to start this course, and what is the actual structure of the course and what was the intention of the complete course is what we have clearly seen in the last session. So we will not just repeat the same thing, but instead we will start discussing this chapter with the subtopic called shell programs. And this particular subtopic, shell programs, to give you an introduction, it will completely deal with introducing you to the word called shell and what is exactly a shell program. If you write a shell script or a shell program, what does it actually have and how does it actually executes is what we are going to discuss. And just to give you a brief explanation about what is written in the first paragraph of the general shell functions is this paragraph, or until here, it is completely speaking about one single statement, that is nothing but shell scripting is nothing but a file or executable file which has got set of commands that will be executed line by line. That's it. So to simply answer your question, if you have anything like what is shell scripting, shell scripting is nothing but a file which is an executable file which has got set of commands or set of functions to be executed line by line inside the file. That's it. For example, you wanted to look at date today on the server, and you wanted to look at what are the number of users in the server, and also you wanted to look at what are the different mount points in the server. If you want to do this, definitely you will be typing the commands first. If you want date, you would just type date date and you will find the date. And if you wanted number of users in the database, on the server, you would just go and cat/etc/password. And if you wanted, as I said, third one, so first one is date, second one is the number of users, and the third one is I wanted to check the number of mount points on the server. You would just say df-h or df-g, whatever is appropriate. And if you wanted to do the same thing with the help of script, writing all these lines inside a file and then executing the file will basically do the same thing. So that is nothing but it will execute date and then it will execute next is cat/etc/password and then it will execute df-h. That's it. That is simply a shell script definition. Shell script is a file which is machine readable file, and it is also readable by human, and it has got set of commands that has to be executed line by line. That's it. That's the definition of shell scripting. And if you ask me what are the different shells available, yes, this is what will answer your question. So as you see on the screen, we have Bourne shell, or it is simply called as sh. You have bash shell, which is born again shell, that is nothing but it is an extension to the Bourne shell, that is sh shell. And you have C shell, that is csh will be the extension of the file or a script which you write in C shell. And then 10x C shell, that is tcsh. So it is again advanced, or you can say just like bash is an advanced version of Bourne shell. Similarly, 10x shell is an advanced version of basic C shell. And apart from that, you also have Korn shell. So what is this first of all shell? Shell is nothing but it's a it's a flavor, or it's a platform to actually execute your commands, and this is the one that will actually interpret your commands and then convert that to the kernel of the operating system. So shell is something which is responsible to take the commands from the user and then pass it on to the kernel and execute in the kernel and then get you the result back. So definitely now with this definition, what is that you have understood? Without shell, human or user cannot interface or interact with the Unix platform at all. So you can say that each and every shell has got their own language. So you can just compare these shells with the languages that you have learned so far, if you have some. For example, if you have learned PL/SQL, that's the language that you have learned to communicate and speak to the database, isn't it? And if you have learned Java, definitely it's a language that you have learned to actually speak to the to create an application so that you have a better structured application that you wanted. So very similar to that, shells are nothing but those are the interfaces which will basically help humans or the user to actually give some command, and then it will take the command and appropriately execute in the kernel and get back you the result. And having said this definition, without a shell, there is no terminal at all on the Unix platform. By default, every Unix platform will have a shell. Without a shell, you cannot basically execute anything inside a Unix platform. It's mandatory. Now, these are the different ways, but I don't want to go in detail about what is Bourne shell, what is that it can do, what is Bourne again shell, what is that it can do, etc., because it is very much in detail into Linux administration, which doesn't make any difference for us at this moment. But for you guys, to just let you know, all the Linux platforms will have by default bash shell as the default one. That means as soon as you log into your Linux systems, the default shell that it will have is bash. Having saying that, it is the default one, but even on the Linux machine, you can have Korn shell, you can have C shell, you can have Tenex shell, you can have multiple types of shells. Please remember that. On the IBM AIX machines, because I have worked so far, the default shell will be Korn shell. That is only the default one. That means on every Linux platform or the Unix platform that you find in the market, you can name them Fedora, Ubuntu, IBM AIX, Red Hat Enterprise Linux, Oracle Enterprise Linux, or you can call Sun Solaris, or now it is Oracle Solaris. You can call any operating system which is of Unix flavor. All the operating systems will have and will support all these shells. But out of all these shells, every operating system will have a default shell. So if you don't want the defaults to be changed, you can start using the same default one. Now you must be understanding better why it is good enough if you learn one shell scripting. That's fine. You don't need to learn Korn shell, you don't need to learn bash shell, you don't need to learn again C shell, you don't need to learn multiple shells at all. You learn one shell scripting for sure, as a confident and a complete module. You can execute or you can write those scripts anywhere on any Unix platforms, because all these shells are by default available on all the Unix platforms, isn't it? That's where now we are fixing ourselves to learn bash shell scripting. And as I said, on all the Linux platforms, bash shell scripting is the default shell that you will find as soon as you log into your operating system via a terminal, for example, PuTTY terminal. And what are the different kinds of shells that you will find on the system? If you want to go and see, I have something for you. So to connect that, I have my, as I said, Oracle Enterprise Linux 7 version running, and which is already pre-installed with my database, that is Oracle 12c. So I'm using the same environment for this course completely. So as you see on the screen, I am on Oracle Enterprise Linux. I logged in as Oracle user. Now in case if I wanted to just verify what are the different shells that this server can basically support, just go and cat /etc/shells. As you see on the screen from the document that I have just gave, you have Bourne shell, you have Bourne again shell, you have C shell, you have Tenex C shell, and you have Korn shell as well. And these are the other basic shells that you will find in /usr, but basically /bin followed by this shell are the main shells that are specifically responsible for interacting with the server with by taking the user commands. As I said, Bourne shell, Bourne again shell, and you have your TCS, that is nothing but Tenex C shell, and Korn shell. So these are the different shells. This is how you can identify that whether your system can support bash shell or Korn shell, or they have that capability or not. You can find it like this. Now the next one is nothing but if you wanted to find what is the default shell that you are currently using, just go and type echo $shell. As I said you guys, on the Oracle Enterprise Linux or any other Linux systems like a Red Hat Enterprise Linux or anything like that, the default shell is /bin/bash. That is nothing but Bourne again shell. Alright, So this is how you can find. And another way is, in case if you wanted to find what are the default shell with respect to a user on the operating system, you can grep from this, you will find the default shell here. So that means as soon as an Oracle user logs into the system, he will be using bash shell. That means you can also create a user on the operating system that with different shells as a default shell. I can create another user called Oracle 2 on this server where I can say the default shell should be Con shell. That means as soon as the user logs in, that is Oracle 2 logs into the server, the default shell will be Con. So this is the another way to find out, which user has got what shell by default. And just for an example, if I type date as a command, you will see the current time and date on the server, including the time zone that is default on the server. So when we install the database, server, whatever time zone you select, that time zone you will be visible here. All right, and now let us come back to it. Before I go ahead with the next execution, I have one more topic for you. Why did we basically selected Born Again shell for this complete course, or why I preferred Born Again shell? There is a reason. Because you can write interactive shells or non-interactive shells. You can use conditional statements. You can use arithmetic statements. You can use aliases. Aliases are nothing but you can call it as a nickname. For example, your name is XYZ and you have some puppy, pretty good nickname saying that ABC or A. Somebody calls you A, you will respond, or somebody calls you with the original name, you respond. Very similarly, you can write aliases with the short names, and that aliases can in turn go and execute one set of program as well. So very simple and straightforward, isn't it? That means you can, if you have daily commands, a very big set of commands that you execute on the server, in case if you want to simplify them, not to remember them every day, just write an alias, and every time you just say A, it will do set of jobs. You say B, it will do set of jobs, something like that. Anyway, we are going to see all of these in detail later, but just to tell you, why did we basically pick up Born Again shell? Because these are the different benefits that you have from the Born Again shell, which is maximum enough for all the Oracle DBAs to do their jobs and also do more than what is required. That's the reason Born Again shell is what I have picked up for this complete course, which you will also see that it will be useful by the end of this course. And now, having said that, the default shell that you are in is bash. It doesn't mean that you cannot redirect yourself to the other shell. If you want to redirect to the other shell, just type that shell name. So now you are into Con shell. And if you wanted to come back, just give exit. And if you wanted to go to C shell, just say CSH. You are in C shell. If you want to come back, just give exit. So this is how you can actually move from one shell to the another shell. Now you see, just as an example, if I go to Con shell, and even here if you wanted to check the date, the command is same. Date is the command that will work in Con shell, and also it will work in bash shell. It's only an example. Why am I stressing at this point is, every shell will have its own set of commands and own set of syntaxes. Please remember. The difference between Con shell or C shell or between any two shells that we have discussed so far, the difference would be in terms of syntaxes, in terms of options, and in terms of commands. But also remember, there will be common commands across all these shells as well. As an example, date. So date is such a command which is common across all the shells that will be available on the Unix platforms. But there will be specific commands which comes with the operating system as well, which you might find in bash, but you might not find in Con. Similarly, with the commands that you find on Con, you might not be finding them in bash. So just as an example, just to tell you guys, so just say df-h, so df-g. So it is only an example, but you can try up yourself where you will be finding out some differences. But at the moment, let us again fix ourselves to bash. So let me type this. So echo $shell. So we have come back to bash. All right. Now, how do we execute commands? What is a command basically? As I said you guys just now, the date, whatever you have just typed on the command line console, as soon as you pressed return there, you have seen the result of it. This date is what we call it as a command. Please remember, these are predefined commands which are already existing on the server. That's the reason you were able to execute. Can you execute your own command saying that date1? It would just simply shout back at you saying that I don't see any command with the name date1. That means the commands will only work whatever are pre-created on the server when you have the fresh server up and running. But it doesn't mean that you cannot create your own commands. You can create your own commands. How can you create? Scripting. With the help of scripting also, you can create your own commands. How is that possible? I will definitely show you that now, so that you will get little more excited of how we can make use of scripting skills. But before that, let me come back to this discussion where I know I can be able to execute or show you something conceptually, something very important about general things about executing commands. So whenever you are executing a command, bash determines that program that has to be executed, and it will be compiled inside the kernel, and then it will be executing it. And please remember, every command that you execute will be assigned with a process ID. So as I said about this process ID, let me show you here. If I just say ps-ef, so just say top here. As you see, this is one command which is running called tuned. It has got the process ID called 520 or something like that. See here. So every command that basically runs on the operating system, whether it is foreground or whether it is background, will have a process ID given. And right from the process ID 1 to the consecutive numbers, all those process IDs will be for the background processes which are running to keep your Unix platform up and running. So if you want to come out of the top console, just give see, even the top command has got some process ID because I'm running top, right? So let me see that and show you. Yeah, top command also have some process ID 10810. So that's how each and every command definitely will be associated with the process ID that will help the kernel to accept the request, process the program, and then give the output on the screen. That's where you are able to see the output of the top command here. And now that is how the general things about executing the commands, and that is where the process ID with the 1 is basically for the boot procedure of your system. So we also call it as bootstrapping procedure. Without that, you don't have your operating system running at all. Now, as I said, Bourne shell, let us basically see what are the built-in commands in the bash shell or shell, and specifically in the bash, because we are speaking about bash and we are learning about the bash, isn't it? And please remember that these are not only the commands that are available in the bash, but only we are speaking about the built-in commands which are different from the other shells. That's it. So as I say Bourne shell, because Bourne is also part of bash, because bash is advanced one of Bourne. So you have break command, cd command, continue, evaluation, execute, exit, export, get opts, hash, pwd, present working directory, read only, return, shift, set, test, times, trap, umask, and unset. These are the commands which are available as a built-in commands in the bash shell. That's the reason whenever you say break, it works. Whenever you say times, it works. Whenever you say trap, it works. Whenever you say pwd, it works. So as an example, I'll show you pwd. See, it is working because it is available as a built-in commands in the bash. Very similarly, for bash built-in commands, you have logout, local, enable, echo, because echo is which works. As I said, alias is also another one. If I wanted to just say echo and then just display the same thing, display this, it will display the same thing. Echo is such a command which is available in bash, which will give you whatever you write after this echo, whether it is a direct content or it's a value of the variable. Alright, so as I said you earlier, if you just say echo shell, it will give you the value of this shell. That's how it works. And there are special built-in commands also, but special built-in commands are nothing but whenever you execute POSIX mode. So POSIX mode is another mode of logging into the database as a different terminal, but still we are not discussing about the POSIX at the moment because we are not purely into Linux administration, isn't it? And POSIX mode, where you can specially have a built-in commands just like break, continue, export, read only, whatever we have here, those things will be in the POSIX mode. They are special built-ins actually. So having understood what are the built-in commands in bash, before we start executing them, actually you have to understand very importantly a term called shebang. Basically, even if you ask few of the DBAs now who are into scripting as well, if you directly go to them and they ask what is the meaning of shebang, I'm sure few of them, or might be most of them, will not be able to give you the definition of the shebang, though they might be knowing it. But what is shebang? Shebang is set of hash and exclamatory, which will tell you the script to run in which shell. So as I said, you can write a script that can run in let me come back, that can run in shell, that can run in bash shell, that can run in C shell, that can run in 10x, or that can run in con, right? But that means you can write your script in any shell and you have to execute the script. For example, if you have written your script in con shell, you cannot execute that script in bash because the commands are unknown to the bash that you have written with specific to con. That's the reason shebang is something that you have to specify on the first line of the script, which will define in which shell the script has to be executed. For example, if you are writing the complete script in con shell and if you are just executing in the shell called bash, it will throw the error, right? But how can you make sure, though you are in bash script, you can run that script in the con? You have to specify shebang in the script. So shebang is nothing but on the first line of the script, you have to specifically say that this script has to be executed in the con shell. Then what happens is, though you are in bash shell, your script will be redirected to the con shell when it is executing, and then it will execute it successfully. Please don't panic. We are going to see some examples so that you understand what is that I meant regarding shebang. Alright, so before we actually go ahead, let me actually show you this one scripts as I told you, but before, okay, let me actually complete this concept as well, and then I'll start showing you what is that I meant as shebang, what is that I meant as default commands, and what is that I meant as the other general topics and process IDs, whatever I was speaking to you. And as you see on the screen, let us speak about building blocks. Building blocks is nothing but the way that you actually prepare your shell script. How do you build your shell script is what this particular subtopic will actually help you to do that. And please remember, whenever you are writing a shell, syntax is very, very important. And these are the few points that you have to remember before you start a shell scripting. That's the reason I have given these points. So let me read them out one by one so that you will be able to find them or understand them while I read. So the first point is the shell reads its input from a file, from a string, or from the user's terminal. So if you need some input to be given to the script, definitely you can do that. It is not just it will go blindly execute inside what is there inside the script, but shell script has also got the capability of taking the input from the user and then act on execute according to it. But everything will be dependent on how do you write it. And input is broken into words, up into words operators obeying the code rules, and that you will be seeing in the chapter number 3 that we are going to discuss that later. And these tokens are separated by meta characters. Alias expansion is performed. So this is how it will, whenever you give some input, it will break that input into words and operators, and then it will pass it to your script, and then it will execute it there. And shell parses. Parsing is nothing but analyzing and substituting the tokens into simple and compound commands. So whenever you give some input to the script, it will then parse it and it will break it into simple parts, and then it will assign it to the shell inside the shebang that you specify. So bash performs several shell expansions, breaking the expanded tokens into lists of file names, commands, and arguments. So that is internal functionality of shell, how it basically divides the complete job into parts. And redirection is performed if necessary. Just as an example, as I said, for example, from one script, if you are calling different script, it will go to that script and it will come back to the original script once the internal script execution is done. So this redirection from script to script, from argument to argument, is basically taken care by your shell by default. And all the commands, whatever you give inside the script, are executed. That means whatever you type inside the script, even a single dot, even that will be executed. So make sure whatever you write inside the shell script, there is some meaning for that shell script. And because if there is no meaning for that line, whatever you write inside the script, you will see some error and your script will break off from that error point. It doesn't continue after it finds an error. So optionally, the shell also waits for the command to complete and collect its exit status. So as I just said if you just write dot inside a shell script, it will exit with error. And definitely you can wait for that error and capture that error code and come back of the shell script as well. And what are the shell commands? As I said, you can use a simple shell command called touch, which will create empty files called file1, file2, file3. And it is followed by the arguments. This is nothing but input, right? This is the command. And for this command, what are the input arguments? File1, file2, file3. With these file1, file2, file3, what is that understood of the touch command? It understood that it has to create empty files with the name file1, file2, file3 in the same location. And you can also use piping. This is where called as redirection. So output of the first command should be given as input to the second command. So just say ls and more, that means output of ls will be given to the input for the more, so that it will be performing more at that point of time. And similarly, you can do multiple things like gunzip. Gunzip is nothing but unzipping a zip file and also extract it. So you wanted to gunzip it, and tar, with the using of tar, if you wanted to also extract the file, you can do it one after the other by using the pipe one. I'm hoping that you guys know already what is pipe, because to look at the background processes for the database running at the background, you must have already used ps-ef pipe, grep smon or grep pmon or grep anything. So piping is nothing but taking output of the first one and giving it as an input to the second one. That's it, simple and straightforward. And functions, you can define your own functions inside a shell script, and you can call those functions wherever you wanted that to be executed. So we are going to see how do we define the functions also, and for each and every function and for the complete script, you can define your own parameters. Parameters are nothing but you can also call it as a variable, or that will actually store some value for you, and depending on the value that you store for the variable, you can actually act on the further steps in the script. So that is what we call it as expansion, parameters. And expansions, we have your expansions like brace expansion, like closed braces, open braces, square braces, flower braces. And for the arithmetics, we have a different types of expansions. And for word splitting, we have a different types of expansions. And for file naming, if you want to name a file also, you have a different kinds of expansions. And these expansions we will definitely find whenever we are executing them, because if I just blindly say brace expansion, that means you have to use braces only in the conditional statements, you don't understand it. And you have to use tilde expansion whenever you wanted to only use within the for loop or something, or in the while loop. And if you wanted to use arithmetic expansion, you have to use double braces or something like that. So you will be using it whenever it is visible for you, so that you gain the experience then and there. And as I said, redirections is what we have already concentrated, and executing is nothing but, this is very, very important. I don't want to go through this complete set of commands that you see on concept that I have written here, but I'll directly show you what does it mean. But before that, to show you, let me show you something here interesting. Probably you guys know that already. I have created one directory called scripting. This is where we are going to write whatever we are learning throughout this course. Alright. Now you guys probably know what is the meaning of cat, isn't it? Cat will basically go and read the data in the file that you are going to specify after the command. So this is an argument. this is the command. So passing an argument to the command, cat will execute according to the input that you have given. Hope you understood what my terminology said. Now, how is this cat command working? In case if you want to verify whether the command whatever you are going to execute will work or not, you just use which. Just say which and then command name. If you are able to see the result of this which command, that means whenever you type command called cat, it will be executed for sure because it is there in the output of which. And now, for example, you type something else which is not an operating system command at all. Just as an example, cold. So just say which cold. It is saying that I could not find cold in any of these locations. Now the point comes, or the question comes, why this cold? Why the complete shell is basically searching for the command called cold only in this set of locations? Because these are the set of locations that has been given in the variable called path. Now you just go and compare. There is a variable called path in the operating system by default, which has got all these set of locations which are separated by colon. So as you see here, colon, this is location 1, colon, location 2, colon, location 3, colon, location 4, colon, etc., etc. Now, with this, what is that I'm trying to tell you? Whenever you type a command on the operating system like cat, it will try to go and find out whether that command is existing either in location 1 or in location 2 or in location 3 or in location 4, etc., etc. Now, whenever you fired which command, it is clearly showing you that cat is the command that I was able to find out is available in /user/sbin, which is nothing but it is here. So the command called cat is available in location 3 that you have specified in path variable. But cold is a command that you wanted to search which is not available in any of these locations. Similarly, if you just say SQL plus, it will not work. If you just say which SQL plus, it will not work because SQL plus is a command line which is not available anywhere. Right, now let me show you some magic. As soon as you set up the environment variables of one database called OraCDB2, now you just verify which SQL plus. You will be able to find that yes, I can find SQL plus command in this location. So how is that it is able to find? Because your path variable is updated with this location. Because it is also updated with this location when you set up the environment variables, it can find SQL plus command inside this location. That is the main reason of how your commands will basically work. Now if you just fire SQL plus, it will work because it can find it. Alright, now having understood this, now in case if you want to write your own commands, how do you write? Now I'll tell you something very, very interesting. I wanted to create my own command. Instead of just date, I wanted to create my own command called Oracle date. If I execute it, will it execute? No, because this is not available anywhere. See here, it is not available in all these locations. It is not there at all. Now if I wanted to create my own command like this, now this is where I have to give shebang first. Now as you see here, I wanted to create this script, but the first line says that shebang, that is hash value and also exclamatory mark, saying that whatever I'm going to write in this script, in this file, you have to execute that in the bash shell. And in case if you want the complete script to be executed in the Korn shell, you have to give ksh. This is where shebang will actually work. So I have created my file. So this is the command that I wanted to basically get executed as soon as I type Oracle date. So just say, because Oracle date, if I am typing, it is not executing, right? Now to run this script, basically it requires execution rights. So I am giving execution rights for this script. And now because this particular command is in /home/oracle/scripting, if I type directly Oracle date, it will not execute because this particular location is not part of your path variable at all. That's the reason what I'll do is I'll copy this one and then copy to one of the locations which is already part of your path variable. Alright, So now I copied it to /bin location. Now if you just say Oracle date, will it work? See the beauty? It has worked. Earlier when I said just Oracle date, it did not work because this particular command was not found in any of these locations. But now after I created my own script, inside the script I said what to do and I copied it to the location which is one of the locations of the path variable. It started working fine. This is the beauty of your Unix. This is how Unix works. Commands are nothing very different, and they are not actually available right from the kernel of your operating system. No. For each and every shell, there are set of commands which are basically created for you, built-in commands, and they have been part of either of these locations. So that's the reason these commands are working. So in case if you wanted to create your own defined commands, you can also do that with the help of scripting with a very simple example like this. Hope that has given you a very good insight of how scripting will basically work. So that's it for this session. We will again meet in the next session to write a proper script. How do we create and run a proper script? Because basically we have did that actually. So we have created a script and we are assuming that it's a command, and inside the script we have given a shebang, and also we have given the next command what it has to execute when I call this. This is how you write a script. But writing one-line script is not our target. So in the next chapter, we are going to write a proper script and then we are going to execute it and see the results of it. Alright? Thank you. Meet you in the next session. Bye.